face that football is back. One I just had listening to Sean McDermott read down injuries. Like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's specific now.
Here we are, right?
It's not a game week or anything, but, his voice and here are the players who are hurt, and here's what we're going to tell you about what's bothering them. I wasn't all the way ready for that. I have known today was coming for a long time, but I wasn't all the way ready for McDermott's voice breaking down injuries. But of course, he would be doing that. Training camp coverage on WGR continues. Here is Sal Capaccio with us on the Wester Hotline. Sal, I think probably for the most part, this is a joyous day for you and for the for the fans.
Yeah, I think so. When you cover football for a living, to me, I've always looked at my job as a privilege. It's not a job. It's not work. When you get a chance to do something like this, you love it. So from that standpoint, it's a joyous day to be able to do something you love and get paid for it, no doubt about it. It also represents a big shift in everybody's life, who does this for a living. This is something now that we're a part of every day for the next several months. And out here at St. John Fisher, there's a lot of work to be done, and starts early in the morning. Get on the radio at 7. You have a press conference at 9:15, practice at 9:45. After that, I just recorded a podcast with Matt Bove before I came on with you guys. Got an article to write, got more stuff to do tonight. So that's not complaining, just it's a lot, right, to take in. And you just kind of have to keep everything where it needs to be, so to speak. That being said, fans coming out from their perspective, a great chance for them to see their Buffalo Bills again, right? It's been a long time, and I think every season brings new hope. It doesn't matter if it's 2013 with E.J. Manuel and a team that, hasn't made the playoffs at that point in 13 years, or it's 2017 with Sean McDermott coming in, everybody thinking that they're going to be the worst team in the league with some of the moves they made, or right now with the league MVP. I think that, fans love seeing their Buffalo Bills, and this has been a great partnership here at St. John Fisher for a quarter of a century now, and so much so, it is very, very hard to get a ticket right now, guys.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the next thing I was going to bring up is I can remember feeling as though we needed to get, I think the Bills wanted us to help get here's what it's the Verizon store, or it's Wegmans, or whatever the outlet would have been.
Yep.
And, here's the process. And, those tickets were available. Now, I don't think not one time, I know for myself, I won't speak for the entire show, I've had some time off, but that doesn't even come up as something. The Bills don't need our help. The tickets just disappear. Like, as soon as they're available, they're gone. It's crazy. And I don't want to take it for granted, but it hasn't been like that for that long, but it's pretty regular now that it just runs itself, kind of.
Yeah, and that's not only that, Bulldog, even to go even further, people get upset because they can't get tickets. They try and they just can't get tickets anywhere. I get people asking me all the time, like, can you get tickets to camp? How do you get tickets to camp? Can you help me get tickets to camp? No, it's tough, right? I know a lot of people, personally, family members, they can't get tickets to camp. Some people got lucky. They're here. I saw a lot of people I've seen in years past, and whether that's fans or people with corporate partnerships or something like that. So it definitely is, but it is also a team that now is, they have the league MVP. They've been very, very good, obviously, for a while, and expectations, again, coming into 2025 are really high. And, to get to a Super Bowl and to win a Super Bowl, that's where we've landed, and that's where we remain as this team, arrives at St. John Fisher today.
James Cook did not need a ticket. If he did, he got one on the field. What's your analysis from what was said today and what you saw, how this has played out?
We said, and I said with you guys for a while, it either becomes a really big story or becomes no story at all. It's one day of talking about it today. I think after today, I don't know how much we talk about James Cook's contract, to be quite honest. I think the only two ways we talk about it are, A, if he gets hurt, unfortunately, because then it becomes a story of, hey, here's a guy that this is why he wanted to get paid, and now look at him because he has an injury. Or B, just kind of during the season at some point, he has a monster game, or just kind of you look at his usage, and, we're going to say, oh, James Cook's, somebody at the end of the year whose contract's expiring. What are they going to do with him? The other side, though, would have been very, very noteworthy for quite a while. If he had showed up and not done anything and done the hold in, then I think we'd be talking about that now a lot, and it would be something we'd be monitoring every single day. I think because he showed up, because he practiced, because of the messaging that came from Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, about how good of a teammate he is, how much he wants to be here with his guys and be on the field, I think everything just kind of goes away from the contractual standpoint right now until something else happens to bring it up.
Right. And I wonder, Sal, you and I think, have been pretty aligned on this, like not being optimistic that they were going to get something done here during this offseason. But now that we're in camp, I wonder if the Bills, like I assume they had a number, they had some offer for him that didn't meet what Cook was looking for, and so no deal was made. I wonder if all along they've had like an extra, one last try, here's an extra couple whatever, guaranteed monies or whatever it is. Now that he showed up and has been such a, he's not been a disturbance at all. I mean, the only disturbances have been on social media. Like to the team, he's been at everything he was supposed to be at, and he's participated. So I wonder if there's one last, like, well, we were willing to go to, I'll pick a number, 10. Here's 11.5 or 12, or we're willing to give you 17 million guaranteed. Here's 22. Is this something to try to bridge the gap between what he might have been looking for and what their number was? Like, I wonder if they've always had like a second ceiling, so to speak, for a moment like this.
You never know. They don't obviously tell us those things,
Right.
but I wouldn't be surprised, right? If there was something like that going on. So when Brandon Beane sat down today, like I happened to shoot off the first question to him, and I hope it was a solid question because my fear is we ask a bad question and it's on Hard Knocks, to be quite honest with you. Like I think about that now.
You're gonna be on
right?
point.
Like, oh my God,
Yes.
like, I asked a bad question and all of a sudden now I'm a meme on Hard Knocks. So no, but I asked him to take us through like what's been the dialogue, what's been the history between the James Cook's representatives and you up until now, and he said they have a good relationship, maybe a great relationship, whatever, especially with James. He's kept an open dialogue with his representatives, and he said he'll continue to keep an open dialogue with his representatives, right? Which is to say nothing's closed off. You never know. Maybe something happens here at camp. Maybe something happens during the season. Now, I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. I think just based on what we've heard from James Cook and seen on social media, what we know about kind of how the Bills feel about that position and their allocation of resources, it doesn't feel like that's going to happen. So that gets me to, okay, James Cook is here. He's practicing. He squawked on social media about, what he wanted. But at the end of the day, like, did he have to do that then? Like, why did he do that? Because it almost seems I have it in my head, the way he looked and the way he sounded at minicamp when he was asked about it. This is me giving commentary on this. I don't know. He didn't say this, but it almost felt like regret. You know what I mean? It almost, to me, I felt like he almost regretted putting that out there. The way he treated it, he almost didn't even acknowledge that he put those numbers out there. Instead of backing it up and saying, yeah, hey, I want to get paid. I'm worth it. He said, I like my money. That's why I'm here. But when he was asked, like, why did you send that message of that money? I don't know. It's just something I did. And if I felt like, okay, well, if that's the case, like, it was kind of, not that it mattered at that time of the offseason, but it became a bit of a distraction, I think, from just everything else. Not that a distraction on the field yet because they weren't practicing, but you guys know what I mean. Like, it just seems like, okay, what was the purpose for that then?
Again, it's poker. I just won the last hand, and I've got all these chips in front of me, and even though I have 9-3 offsuit, here, let's go. Raise. Oh my God, I have 9-3. Oh my God, I wasn't even thinking about my hand. I don't know. It was meaningful to me that you said how you said yesterday you were just a little bit confused by, or Monday, how he was talking, and we listened to a different clip from him, and he was the same way. I thought I was confused, like he was kind of saying everything. What I deserve, but I don't want to be a cancer. If it's a poker game, the Bills, at least to this point, read him right because maybe they just didn't take him that seriously as somebody that would stay away. And what happened? He didn't stay away.
Well, listen, I've said this to you guys. I know for sure I said it on It's Always Game Day in Buffalo, and I've been right about my conviction on Brandon Beane on this. And you guys know this, and I'm sure you would have said the same thing. You know how Brandon Beane operates. Brandon Beane wasn't about to go to where the numbers we heard James Cook wanted to. Like, once we kind of knew where Brandon Beane stood on it, it wasn't happening. Now, it doesn't mean he can't get something done at a different number, but there was never a chance for me once we knew kind of what James Cook was putting out there with $15 million, how Brandon Beane talked about pivoting to other guys because, just they couldn't get on the same page. I never saw Brandon Beane caving, so to speak, to anything that James Cook, that type of money.
Beane wouldn't go to $15 million, and Cook wouldn't go to the mattresses on this. Like, everybody's just sort of okay so far. One last thing from me on him, because he's not the only thing going on here, is the word hopeful that being used, maybe to your question about Cook being here next year. It's another way of sounding, I think, that makes you think, like, yeah, if he comes over to where we think is a realistic place, we'll do it.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with that. But it's also just that, you have him. You still have levers you can pull to keep him in a Bills uniform next year, right?
Right.
You have a franchise tag.
It's up to them.
A transition tag. Yeah, so Brandon Beane talking like that, I think what he's basically telling you is, he's not going to burn bridges here. He's not going to say something that makes James Cook say, okay, forget it. I want to be in another organization, another team. He's not even telling you he's going to have he's hopefully get a contract extension. He's just like, yeah, he's on our team. We love him, and we hope he's here next year. There's other ways that they can do that.
Right. Most ideally, Cook coming to their number eventually because he realizes that, whatever he was hoping for isn't going to materialize and, bird in the hand. That's why I mentioned, I don't mean to be trying to play walk both sides of the street here. I've not been optimistic about them getting something done, but I just wonder if at this point, the way Cook has acted, showing up and everything, if whatever amount of guaranteed money that is going to be, maybe 4 times the amount he's going to get paid this year if he just plays out this last year of his contract, might look pretty good at this point, unless he wants to just bet on himself. But, that bet comes with, there's a downside, and that's, what happens if something goes wrong and you're injured and now the whole thing sort of goes up in smoke.
Yeah, and look, as of now, as of today, as of July 23rd, the start of training camp, James Cook is here. He's practicing. I did not see him do anything any differently than he normally would do in any other practice. We'll see if that remains the same. And we go forward here, and he's a guy going into the last year of his contract, just like a guy like Connor McGovern.
Sal, some have asked me to ask you, what was the highlight of the day? The best of training camp, brought to you by Northtown Automotive. Get a Northtown Engine Shield engine protection warranty on new and used vehicles.
Well, the highlight was, you have big picture, small picture, but it's related. The highlight was Max Hairston. He had a really fantastic play that the Bills actually tweeted out a video of, and you guys can watch that. It's a slow motion from the back of the end zone. KJ Hamler is wide open. He's the only guy in the frame. The ball's coming to him from Mitch Trubisky, and out of nowhere, Max Hairston comes and makes the play on the ball. And I would say that was just representative of the type of day Max Hairston had. He had a really good day out here. And, after OTAs and minicamp and, trying to line up right a few times, having a bit of an uneven, camp, a couple plays here, a couple, times he got beat there. I wasn't that optimistic he'd come here and just kind of get right in and look good with the ones or the twos. And, him and Tre'Davious White both doing that. But he did. He had a couple nice plays. That was one of them. And the other that I noted in my story at WGR550.com was there was a throw to Curtis Samuel, and Harrison was one-on-one on the outside. It was a red zone period. Curtis Samuel caught it just as he's going to the sideline. And if Harrison doesn't get there as quick as he does, he might turn upfield. But because he got there so quick, he just rode him out of bounds. It was a minimal gain. That play, both plays, are just an example of how fast he is and how quick he can get to the football.
We talked about whether there would be Dalton Kincaid observations. Are there any?
Mm-hmm. There are. He had a very nice day today overall. Caught a couple of passes, a couple of touchdowns. I think both from Josh, if I remember correctly. I know at least one. Now, I would say with the caveat, one of them, I'm pretty sure Josh would have been sacked, but they don't do that here at training camp, obviously. So the play stayed alive. So Dalton had another second, catch the ball, and he did in the back of the end zone. And on the other one, he worked his way back from the back of the end zone. It was a really nice play by him. He was in the back of the end zone. There were 2 defenders. He kind of saw Josh back there looking around. So he worked his way back right upfield. Josh kind of put it in a really good spot so that when he came forward, he kind of moved in between the 2 defenders to get it, and he surprised them. So I like that. Now, as far as him getting bigger, I tried to look at that. It's tough to tell. These guys are, these guys are professional athletes. But yeah, I tried to make an observation that I do think his arms and shoulders do look a little bit broader. But I don't know. I'm not sitting there comparing, Zapruder film to, what he was last year.
What about the stuff with the guys who didn't work today? Is there anything? It doesn't sound there's anything to be alarmed about, but I want to just clear that with you.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. I agree, especially considering Sean McDermott and Brandon Beans, one of them, the way they basically phrased it, which is we're going to be overly cautious when it comes to the veterans, Dawson Knox and Spencer Brown, because these guys know what we do, right? They don't have to rush back. You can wait on them. When they're ready, they'll play. They have all the trust in their medical staff. I was a bit concerned when they signed a tight end, Matt Sokol. We were on the air yesterday when you guys and I said, hey, you could have anything happen here at any moment. And sure enough, it did right at that moment. And as at that moment when I was saying, about 24 hours ago, I'd be a little concerned because they signed a tight end, but I think that's because what we learned today, Dawson has a hamstring injury, so you want to make sure you give that some time, right? I mean, it's not worth putting Dawson Knox out there in week 1 of training camp or even week 2 maybe and putting him out there any earlier than it has to be out there. So you got to have guys get some reps so that guys like Dalton Kincaid and Jackson Hawes aren't out there taking every single rep, and you have to have a plan there, so that's why they did that. So the word is basically Dawson Knox hamstring. He's on the NFI, not football injured. Spencer Brown back, as Sean said, flared up a bit. Didn't seem like there's anything he's too overly concerned about. But, with Spencer Brown's back injuries history.
Go on. I think I know what happened.
Me too.
I think Sal was finally lashing back at not getting a Yankees question after they won one. Enough with these guys. Always when they lose. They always have a Yankees question.
I was saving Yankee questions for the end.
I had one too.
Yeah, right.
But
we got your back, Sal.
I think he just felt like enough already with these two.
Yeah.
That's his way of protesting. He went to the mattresses.
Sal, we clipped off there talking about Dawson Knox. So the other.
Yeah, my apologies.
Hey, it happens. Laviska Shenault, tough. He's a long shot to make it to begin with, and to be not there to start is not great.
Agreed. And I was going to say the same thing, so thank you. You're right. Laviska Shenault needs to be on the field. He's not like Dawson Knox. He's not like Spencer Brown, where if he's not on the field, right now, it's going to be fine. He'll be fine. But Laviska Shenault needs to be available. He needs to be on the field. That wasn't the case today, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. Lower leg strain is the way that Sean McDermott turned it.
Did your son further his quest to see Anthony Volpe traded after that mid-game throwing error last night, number 13?
We did not see the throwing error last night. We got home late. We had maybe one of the longest ever major division 10, 11-year-old baseball games ever played.
Uh-oh.
That's because once you get to the playoffs, the time limit is 2:15 before you can start a new inning, not 1:50 like the regular season. But it was awesome and intense, and it went a full 2:20 probably. And it's double elimination. They were the 1 seed. Our team is the 2 seed. They were undefeated all year, the team we played, my son's team. And, guys, it was awesome. And it went down to the last inning with literally, we wound up winning and giving them their first loss of the year and the only loss in the double elimination. And it came down to 5-4 in the 6th with the tying run on base and the winning run at the plate, and then we wound up getting out of it. So it was really cool. So, no, we didn't see that. Anyway, I just had to throw that because it was a super cool baseball game.
Right. Well, we were both of us were watching the Yankee game for you.
Oh, good.
I was watching the Jays, but sure.
I came home. I did first thing I saw. Okay, 4-4. Come on, what are you doing here? I didn't realize they blew the lead, and they had been up. And then I saw that happen. And then, the Ben Rice home run obviously was just monstrous. They needed that. Devin Williams still scares me coming in, but he's a lot better now than he was early in the season. So I'm a little more confident. But it got a little hairy there at the end. But they needed that.
Do teams play games with the time limit?
No, I haven't seen that. I've seen that in tournament play before. I haven't seen it in our type of league, and it wasn't even close to that. You can't start a new inning after a certain time, and
Yep.
I mean, guys, it was already the game started at 6. It was 7:05, and we're in the 3rd inning. That's a long little league game, right?
Been there.
And we're like, holy cow! But it was also at that time it was 3-1. It was low scoring. So you still had a good game going on. So anyway, that means the championship, so to speak, is Saturday, and if the team Max plays on wins, they're the champions. They win. If they lose, it comes down to one final game between them and whoever beats them. Because we got to lose twice. That comes down next Tuesday, and I would be home for that because the Bills practice on Tuesday, not on Wednesday.
And they're on the field tomorrow and Friday, right?
Tomorrow and Friday. So the way this schedule works this year is 3 on, 1 off, 3 on. They're practicing 6 out of the first 7 days of camp. So, they'll be on the field tomorrow. It's going to be very hot tomorrow.
Yeah.
During the afternoon, the heat index like 100 degrees. So, I know people have asked, would they practice in the heat? Yes, I mean that kind of heat. I don't know, but it's not going to be like that kind of hot heat when they practice. And they did end a little earlier today. It wasn't even noon when they got. It was like 11:30 when they ended today.
And do you have an idea at this point when pads will go on for the first time? I know teams more and more really ease into that, but eventually they will get to pads and some live hitting and goal line and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it'll either be Sunday or Monday next week. I'm not really sure on that exactly. So either Sunday or Monday next week, I'm pretty sure. I think they have to go 3 days without pads and that. But sometimes, a lot of times when you come back after a day off, coaches don't want to get you right into pads. You want to get you acclimated again with your bodies, and then they'll put the pads on the next day. But, it's funny. I just did the podcast with Matt, like I said, and Matt was talking about how he was really impressed with TJ Sanders and Deion Walker today. And I'm not here to tell you shouldn't be. Like, I think that they were both, impressive in their own right when I saw them. But I'm going to be super honest. I don't watch a lot of the line when there's no pads on, guys. Like, I'm really looking a lot.
Right.
I'm more looking at reps. I'm looking who's where. I'm looking at the skill position guys. I start paying attention to the O-line and the D-line a lot more once the pads come on.
Very good. Thank you, Sal.
You got it, guys.
That's our man, Sal Capaccio. His appearances are brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
Coverage of Bills Camp from St. John Fisher, brought to you by Fiegel Car and Joyce, your border attorney.